It was a quiet Wednesday morning at the university. The students of Professor Karim's philosophy class shuffled into the lecture hall, not quite sure what to expect. Professor Karim was known for his unusual but unforgettable lessons. Today, there was no textbook in sight, no whiteboard covered in notes, just a large glass jar, sitting in the center of his desk. Without saying a word, the professor held up the jar for all to see. Then, from beneath the desk, he pulled out a bag of golf balls. Carefully, he dropped them into the jar one by one, until no more could fit. He turned to the class. "Is the jar full?" he asked. The students, slightly puzzled but engaged, nodded in agreement. "Yes, Professor," a student said. "It looks full." Professor Karim nodded. Then, he reached under the desk again and pulled out a container of small pebbles. Slowly, he poured the pebbles into the jar. They settled in the spaces between the golf balls. He gave the jar a gentle shake, and the pebbles nestled in tighter. "Now, is it full?" he asked again. The class laughed a little but still answered, "Yes, now it's full." Smiling, the professor bent down and this time retrieved a bag of sand. Without hesitation, he poured the sand into the jar. The fine grains filled all the tiny gaps between the golf balls and pebbles. "What about now?" he asked. The students, amused and surprised, said, "Now it must be full." But the professor wasn't finished yet. He reached behind him and produced 2 cups of coffee. With a steady hand, he poured them into the jar. The coffee soaked into the sand, disappearing slowly. Laughter rippled across the room. Once the room had quieted, Professor Karim looked around at his students. "Let me explain," he began, his voice calm and deliberate. "This jar," he said, "represents your life. The golf balls are the most important things: your family, your health, your faith, your passions. If everything else was lost but these remained, your life would still be full." He paused, tapping the jar gently. "The pebbles are the other things that matter: your job, your house, your education. They're important too, but they are not your foundation." He leaned in slightly. "And the sand?" "The sand is everything else. The small stuff. Social media. Arguments. Minor worries. Material distractions. If you fill your jar with sand first, there won't be room for the pebbles or the golf balls." The room fell completely silent. Not a shuffle, not a whisper. Every student was listening. Professor Karim lifted the jar gently. "Now," he said with a smile, "the coffee is to remind you that no matter how full your life may seem, there's always time for a coffee with a friend." The students chuckled softly, but their expressions had changed. They were thoughtful now, reflective. Some looked down at their notebooks, others gazed at the jar, thinking about their own lives, their own priorities. After a long pause, one student raised her hand. "Professor, does it mean that if we focus too much on the small stuff, we'll miss what really matters?" He nodded. "Exactly. Life will always offer distractions, things that seem urgent but aren't truly important. You must be mindful of what you let into your jar first." He looked around the room, his eyes resting on each student. "Start with your golf balls. Build your life around what truly matters. Everything else will find its place, or it won't matter if it doesn't." With that, the bell rang, signaling the end of class. The students rose slowly, still digesting the meaning of the lesson. Some took photos of the jar. Others walked out in deep thought. No one would forget this day, or that simple glass jar. That evening, many of them would call their parents, hug their siblings, spend time with their loved ones, or sit quietly and reflect on their own golf balls. Some would even find time to share coffee with an old friend, and that, as Professor Karim intended, was the real lesson. Moral of the story: prioritize what truly matters in life, your relationships, your health, your values. The small things can wait. Fill your jar wisely.